Today is Thursday, October 7th, 2021. We have a very special guest on the show today. As you guys know, many times we've seen decades, people are elected into positions. They say they're going to do something, and then they don't do it. And for these reasons, we really need term limits in order to get our country back, So we have a very special guest here, Ken. He's going to explain for us what's the status with our term limits in Congress. Ken, thank you for being here.
How are you?
I'm so great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on your show today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so there's two different ways, right, from what I understand, that you can go about getting term limits on Congress. One is they themselves voting limits on themselves, which, do you think that's really going to happen? No. Or Article 5 convention. The Article 5 convention has a strong pushback. There's a lot of misinformation out there, unfortunately, by various different groups. And so do you want to talk a little bit about the different myths around the Article 5 convention?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give everyone who might not be familiar a little background on term limits in our country. Back in the 1990s, term limits was very popular in the states. In fact, 23 states passed laws to term limit their own members of Congress, and most of those were done by the people at the ballot box. And what happened was it got challenged in Arkansas, and it went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the court, in its decision, overturned all 23 state laws and ruled that the only way term limits for Congress could be accomplished was with an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, for those of you that are out there not familiar with Article 5 of the Constitution, that's the amending provision. And there's only two ways that an amendment can be proposed. And all of our amendments, we have 27 amendments to our Constitution that have been ratified. Those all came from Congress. So it takes 2/3 of both houses to propose an amendment, and then 3/4 of the states to ratify it. Now, the second option that you just mentioned, Riss, is that there's a second option that the framers, in their wisdom, gave to the states. The states have equal authority to propose amendments, and what's required is you need 2/3 of the state legislatures to apply for the same amendment. Once they hit that number, which is 34 states today, then Congress is forced to call the convention. And then from that point on, the states they take control of it. They send their delegates, they meet, they debate the amendment, they draft it, they vote on it. One state, one vote. And then once it passes, they send it out to the states to get ratified. And it has the same ratification process. It takes 3/4 of the states to ratify it. So we're at U.S. term limits, we are actually pushing both of these processes. We've got an amendment in Congress right now, but I think most of us don't think Congress is going to propose term limits on themselves. And so that's why we're really trying to advance this to the state legislatures to get them to do it to Congress. So I hope that makes it a little bit clearer for folks.
Yeah, it's like a grassroots initiative.
It is. And
really
what's great about it and has given me hope is, how many of us, we vote every election cycle thinking something is going to make a difference and thinking we're going to see some change, but we just don't. Well, you know what? We don't have to just depend on voting. We, the people, have this power under Article 5 through our state legislators, and we need to demand from them to pass this resolution so that whatever state you're living in, they become one of the 34 that's required so that we can get this done. And I think once we pull this off for a very simple amendment that pretty much everyone in the country wants, it's over 80% of the American people want term limits for Congress, and it doesn't matter the party they belong in. That's what makes this so effective. It's not a party issue. Once we pull this off for term limits for Congress, then we could have a convention for other reforms at the federal level that Congress refuses to address. So that's the power of this, to give us hope and to see real change. And we do this one time, we change the course of our country.
Wow. So guys, we have so much more power than we realize. And it's all right here. Like, this is it. This is what it comes down to. Are we just going to allow ourselves to keep getting slapped in the face by these people that we voted in, keep paying them when they don't deserve a pay raise, not doing what they're supposed to do? No. So we gotta limit them and get some more people filtered in there. That not one person should ever have an 18-year reign in a position.
Oh,
Right?
18, that's a rookie basically in Congress. We have members down there that have been there 30, 40, 50 years.
That's sickening. That is sickening, friends.
It really is. And the term limits would provide so many benefits. Think about that. If we had open seat elections every election, we're going to have more people running for office. We're going to see people from outside of the two major parties running for office with a real chance of winning now, because now they're not protected by the parties. They're not protected by the lobbyists and the special interest groups. We'll see people participating in our government from a variety of different backgrounds. We, the voters, will have more choices, and we'll get people going to Washington, D.C. who know they have a short time to get the job done that they were sent there to do, and they can't turn it into a career. And so that's just a few of the benefits of term limits.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know.
So now, one reason why this hasn't happened yet, right? Is because all the misinformation. There's groups that are saying that this whole process could potentially initiate rewriting the entire Constitution, which isn't accurate, because you were saying it's just a suggestion. It's not possible that it would rewrite the whole Constitution. If anything, it's protecting it more. What do you think?
Exactly, Russ. This is exactly what the framers said. There's actually quotes from the framers that said this process is to protect the Constitution, restore it when it gets abused. And there's some groups out there on the far left and the far right that for decades now have been spreading a lot of misinformation about what an Article 5 convention is. And they will claim, they'll say it's a it's a constitutional convention. It's not. You cannot rewrite the Constitution under Article 5. It does not allow for that. In fact, after the day that the framers unanimously approved the wording of Article 5, a motion was made to give it the power of a constitutional convention, and they rejected that. So this can only propose an amendment the same way Congress has Congress has introduced over 12,000 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. 12,000. They've got 46 introduced so far this year in Congress. All this does is give the states the same opportunity to introduce an amendment. That's all this does. And so the states have never introduced a single amendment under Article 5. And what I mean by that, they've never been able to draft the amendment where they can have a committee, vote on it, and then send it out for ratification. They've never been able to call the meeting. They've come very close a couple of times in our history. I'll give you real quick background. The 17th Amendment, which is the direct election of senators, prior to that amendment, the U.S. senators from each state were appointed or elected by their state legislatures. Okay. However, there were some problems back then, some corruption. Some states they had gridlock. They weren't appointing senators. And so the states started applying for an Article 5 convention to directly elect the senators. They wanted that amendment. They got up to 29 states. They only needed 2 more to call the convention. And that pressure from the states prodded Congress to ultimately propose that amendment. So this process does work. It helps to push Congress in the direction that we want them to go in. But we want to get to a convention so that we can finally limit how long somebody can serve in Congress.
I think that this is something that's reasonable.
Absolutely.
Right? Or do you think we'll see it in our lifetime?
I do. I think people are getting fed up. I think we're seeing a perfect storm between the dysfunction in Washington, D.C., and the people seeing above party politics and realizing we got to do something before it's too late. And what we need from your viewers is for them to get involved. We're not asking for a lot of time. If they go to our website, it's termlimits.com. First thing I would ask people to do is sign our petition. When you add your name to our petition, it doesn't put it on the ballot. That gives us access to send you information to keep you up to date. For instance, when I'm working in the state to get this passed, we send out a lot of calls to action. And the only way you're going to know about that call to action is if you're in our database to receive our emails. We need people contacting their state senator, their state representative, and demanding them to support this. We need to get this done, and it's going to take the grassroots making some noise in their state to get it done. And the second thing that we do that is very important to our plan is we have a pledge that we're asking anyone running for Congress to sign and anyone running for the state legislature to sign. So if you could help us with that, we would love to have the grassroots asking their candidates for office to sign the pledge. And so you can find that under our website. If you go under news, you'll see pledge press releases. You can see everyone there that's signing. In fact, I was at a fair today in Maine and talked to a gentleman running for Congress here in Maine, and he signed the pledge right there on the spot. So he's a firm believer of term limits, and we just need.
Didn't you say that we just got a Democrat from Pennsylvania on board?
Yeah. So we have in Pennsylvania, we have our resolution introduced in the House and in the Senate, and we have this is not partisan issue. That's what's so great about this. We have Democrats and Republicans on board. I just got word today that a Democrat senator is going to be co-sponsoring it, and I'm in Maine, and the Congressman Jared Golden, he has co-sponsored the actual amendment in Congress. And so that's what we need. We got to have people seeing beyond party politics and do what's right for the American people. And term limits is probably the only issue today in America that has such high support from people on both sides of the political aisle.
I really see this as like the only way that we can prevent our country from turning into like a dictatorship or a socialist society or just being overruled by monarchs that reign for decades and decades and then generations. It got to stop, right? It does,
and you're right. We have an elective monarchy. People think, well, we've got term limits, just vote them out. Well, how's that working for us? If that was really accurate, how is it that Congress has such low approval ratings, under 20% for decades now, but their reelection rate is over 96%? There's a disconnect there. That's because the incumbents have such an advantage over the challengers. It's virtually impossible to vote them out, and that's the problem. We need to have people down there who can't turn it into a lifelong career, make millions of dollars. We need to keep it fresh with new people, with new ideas.
That's the thing. Yeah. Once they get into these positions that we elect them into, they realize how much money that they can make if they stay there. And so people don't realize, but we have groups on the left and on the right that are behind the scenes, behind your back, y'all, conspiring to keep this from actually going through. And I just want to show this one page on your website. If it's this is on the what tab is
under facts and then down to debunking myths right there. Yeah.
Facts, debunking myths. If you go to 17, it'll show you, it exposes both the left groups and the right groups that are trying to prevent this from happening. Okay. Yeah, they don't want a limit on how long that they can reign.
Yeah, so you have groups like, I'll name a couple on the right. You have the John Birch Society, Eagle Forum, and then on the left, you've got Common Cause and the League of Women Voters. So behind the scenes, what these groups are doing together is, number one, they are trying to rescind applications that have already been passed by the states. They go around and try to overturn the ones that have been passed. And then they also testify wherever we go. They testify against our resolution, and they make unfounded claims. And basically what they're doing is they don't want the status quo to change. So they're actually protecting the status quo. They're protecting the establishment by not allowing the states to use their constitutional authority to introduce these reforms. And that's a danger to our government. That's a danger to our Constitution. And it's a danger to we the people for our rights.
That is so dangerous. Digger Dog, thank you so much for just signing the petition. Everybody,
Yes.
make sure that you sign it. I have the link to this website in the description below. Do it now and send this video around. Share it to everybody that you know. In America, this is very important, and it's also important for, when you think about it, the entire world, because at this point, there's so many countries that have already lost so many rights, right? There's so many that don't have 2A rights either. They're under dictatorships. They don't have the luxury or even this option. So we really got to fight, and this is a fight for the entire world. Yes, me.
We've got to take the power back, folks. And please share our petition on your social media. We need to get more people signing this. If you want to get involved, if you go to our website under Get Involved, there's a volunteer tab. We'll get you plugged in your state. We're trying to be, I think we're going to be active between 25 and 30 states this year. And so we need to get this done. It's going to take some time. But officially, as of right now, 16 state legislatures have submitted Article 5 applications that contain the subject matter of term limits, and we're making headway. Ours is a single, so this convention, all it can do is propose one amendment for term limits, nothing else. It's not a constitutional convention. If you look at the link that Rish showed up earlier with the debunking myths, I addressed that it's not a constitutional convention. That's a completely different process, a much higher bar, and the Constitution cannot be rewritten. All this stuff coming from these activist groups, these opponents, is complete and utter lies. They lie about our history, and they lie about the framers, and they just lie about virtually everything in regards to this process. So I'll be honest, I'll be right up front with you. I used to believe it. I was totally against this idea of an Article 5 convention because all I heard were their arguments. And what happened for me personally, once I started to do my own research by reading the notes from James Madison at the Philadelphia Convention, I read the Federalist Papers. I even read the Anti-Federalist Papers. And I read the letters of correspondence between the framers during that time period. Once I just quickly looked at that, I realized the genius. The reason the framers put this into the Constitution was because they knew the government they were creating would become tyrannical. They knew it, and they wanted to give the states a way to check that power.
Wow.
It's time to check the power. It's been over 200 years, and we finally have got to check it. Don't you think, Russ?
Oh, God, 100%. I mean, this is beautiful. We just have to utilize it. It's just there waiting for us. And I think at this point, we're all fed up, and we're about time ready to help out, and we're ready to get going here.
And like I said, I was at a fair today in Maine. People at fairs, once they see the sign that says Term Limit Congress, most of them say, "Where do I sign?" And we have the pledge. You can actually download the pledges off of our website for our candidates, one for Congress, one for the state legislature. I had a gentleman today sign the congressional one. And so that's what we need. We need people getting involved and helping us. We'd love to get more folks around the country getting involved.
Thank you so much, guys. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'd love to answer them for you. We want to make this very transparent. If you have any questions, we're not going to leave you hanging. You're always welcome to contact us also. Again, all links referenced. I'll put them below. And guys, if there's no other questions.
Yeah, I can put my email address if I can type it in. I don't know where to type my email, but it's kquinn@termlimits.com. And feel free to reach out to me directly.
At termlimits.com.
Yep. And our website is termlimits.com.
Okay, let me type that one in too. Ranger time. Let's see. Signed and shared.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. This is awesome. Thank you so much to everybody that donated to the chat as well. Awesome, guys. Well, you know where to find us. You know where to find us. Links will be below. All right, Ken, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Riz. Really appreciate it. Hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks. Yeah, and maybe we can have another update stream.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
When we get more going. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.